Hello and welcome to Levant TV headlines. An Egyptian soldier has been killed and another one wounded when a bomb targeted an armoured vehicle in the Northern Sinai. Yemen's newly appointed Vice President Khalid Bahar has called on the armed forces to support the legitimate government in exile and said a ceasefire must precede any peace initiative. A Lebanese television network is on trial at a special UN tribunal accused of obstructing justice by releasing identities of confidential witnesses in the long-running probe into the killing of former Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. Delegates from Libya's rival parliaments have gathered in Morocco for what UN mediators demanded a final push for a unity government to stem mounting jihadism and a desperate exodus of asylum seekers. And Tehran and Moscow have agreed on the delivery of S-300 missile systems to Iran, but exact dates are still under discussion. Now let's take a look at the top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. Starting from the UAE, the Khalij Times leads, reporting that Saudi Arabia and Egypt are considering holding large-scale military exercises after launching airstrikes on Yemeni rebels who have been slapped with a UN arms embargo and sanctions. The paper also reports that the EU has formally charged US internet giant Google with abusing its search engine's dominance and launched a sensitive probe into its omnipresent Android mobile phone operating system. From Lebanon, the Daily Star leads, reporting that the Lebanese army says it had arrested 5 individuals, including 2 men suspected with links to terror groups, during raids in North Lebanon. The paper also reports that an Egyptian military aircraft has arrived in Beirut carrying 15 tons of medicine, food supplies, blankets, and tents to Syrian refugees in northeast Lebanon. The Egypt Independent leads at Middle East News, reporting that an armed forces officer was killed and 3 conscripts were injured as a result of a bomb blast that occurred while an armoured vehicle was passing by in the city of Sheikh Zayed, North Sinai. The paper also reports that several party leaders have criticised the committee tasked with amending the election laws for allegedly ignoring their proposals, saying that the amendments only included the articles whose validity was earlier questioned by the Supreme Constitutional Court. Now let's take a look at the top headlines in the UK papers. The Guardian leads its Middle East News, reporting that a major report from Amnesty International, released to coincide with this weekend's Formula One Grand Prix, has warned that human rights abuses in Bahrain continue unabated, despite repeated assurances from the authorities that the situation is improving. The Amnesty report details dozens of cases of detainees being beaten, deprived of sleep and adequate food, burned with cigarettes, sexually assaulted, subjected to electric shocks, and burnt with an iron. The Telegraph leads its Middle East News, reporting that the UN peace envoy to Yemen, Jamal Ben Omar, has resigned after losing support from Gulf countries for his mission in the conflict-riven country. Western diplomats said the Gulf countries felt that Ben Omar was being too accommodating towards the Shiite Houthis. The Independent leads its Middle East News, reporting that Saudi Arabia has drawn criticism from human rights advocates following the execution of an Indonesian woman with a suspected mental illness sentenced to death more than 15 years ago after she was convicted of stabbing her employer to death. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines in the international papers. From Germany, the Deutsche Welle reports that Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has downplayed the role of the US Congress in Tehran's final nuclear agreement with the world powers, saying his country is not only negotiating with the US. President Rouhani said his administration was pursuing a dignified agreement with 6 major powers, including the United States, Russia, China, Britain, France, and Germany. And finally, the International New York Times reports that a remarkable clash between 2 key American allies in the Middle East burst into the open as the Iraqi Prime Minister publicly criticized the Saudi air campaign in Yemen, and a top Saudi official retorted that there was no logic to those remarks. And for more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.